Ashley Alexander from Gather and Feast is here, and she's going to be sharing her self-saucing pudding recipe. It is a real treat. It's also vegan friendly.
Vegan friendly, all in one bowl.
Yes.
Super easy.
There's nothing wrong with this recipe.
Nothing. There is nothing wrong.
Perfect.
It's perfect.
So how do we get started?
So we're going to get started by making our cake batter. Now, first of all, we're going to use fresh ginger in this recipe. It's going to give us that beautiful warm kick. So I'm going to get you to start grating that, if you wouldn't mind.
Would love to.
We're going to need about a tablespoon of that initially.
Okay.
While I get started on the cake batter. So we're starting off with our olive oil, sort of the fat that we're using in the cake, and then we have a plant-based milk, any kind of milk that you like or prefer.
Yeah. And I love olive oil in any cake is just so good.
So good.
And your cakes in particular, you like to use a lot of olive oil and a lot of yogurt. And it does give it that beautiful consistency and texture, doesn't it?
It does. It keeps it moist. It keeps it that beautiful, light, airy sort of texture. Yep. Now we're going in with our sweetener. We're using coconut sugar.
Okay. Yeah. Why do you use coconut sugar?
For this one, the malty flavour of the coconut sugar really adds, along with the dates, the ginger, it's the perfect mix.
Yep.
If you don't have coconut sugar, you could also use brown sugar.
Nice.
That's what I would use in place of that. But the coconut sugar is that beautiful malty taste that we're after. So we've just added some vanilla and we're going to go in with a big pinch of salt. And then we're going to give that a little whisk. And then in goes our ginger.
Is that enough ginger for you?
That's perfect. Thank you.
In it goes.
Perfect. Just a little whisk. It's not really going to come together that well at this point. And then we're going to add our beautiful dates.
Lovely. And we've taken the seeds out and given it a good chop.
Yeah, pitted, finely chopped. Beautiful. Great. Now we're going to go in with our dry ingredients. We've got some plain flour and then also, thank you.
In it goes.
Thank you. And now we're going to add our baking powder. That's going to give us a little rise, a little lift. Now we're going to just barely mix this together, give it a head start before we add the yogurt.
And so this is coconut yogurt.
Yes.
Do you find, because you've got a huge following and a big database, people are asking for more and more vegan-friendly recipes?
Yeah, I think so. And I like to have sort of, a mix. I also have a few friends that are sort of more plant-based and vegan, so having a few options up your sleeve for a quick dessert, something like that, is really handy. Now we're going to use a baking dish. We don't need to grease it because we're doing a self-saucing pudding.
Great.
Another easy step. So we're going to put that all the way in there, scrape out as much as we can because we're going to make the sauce in the same bowl. So less washing up, which is what we love.
Gee, this is a very thoughtful recipe for the everyday cook.
Definitely. We don't want to do all those dishes after we're finished.
No way.
And then we're just going to slightly spread that out a little bit, just to the edges.
Get rid of that for you.
And then we'll keep the spatula here for when we pour the sauce over. So into this bowl, we're going to add our sweeteners. So we've got coconut sugar here. Again, for that really malty flavour that we're going for with this date pudding.
Love it.
So delicious. And we also have a little bit of maple syrup.
Maple syrup goes
Just
in.
adds a little bit of extra flavour and dimension to the sauce.
It almost gives it like a an earthy, slightly woody, smoky flavour, which is really nice for like wintry style dishes like this. Yep.
It goes beautifully with the dates and the ginger as well. We've got our plant-based milk, again, whichever you prefer, whatever you have on hand, straight in.
Okay.
And then we have a couple of tablespoons of brandy or cognac. It adds a really nice flavour to it. You can leave it out.
No way.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And then we're adding our hot water. So we have 1.5 cups of hot water.
Okay.
We're going to whisk that together.
There we go.
We're also going to add a little small pinch of sea salt while we do that. So one thing we did forget is our fresh ginger again. So we're going to add a little bit more of that to the sauce.
Okay.
Probably about a teaspoon this time.
I guess if you don't have some fresh ginger around, could you use some ground ginger?
You could use ground ginger, just a small pinch.
Yeah, because it's a bit more intense, isn't it?
A bit more intense.
Okay,
Beautiful.
in that goes.
Give it a little whisk.
Now, if you haven't done a self-saucing pudding before, this is where it gets interesting, right?
Yes, it could get messy. Now, one trick I have when you're pouring the water on is to use your spatula or a spoon and you're going to pour the water gently onto here so it doesn't create a giant divot or well in the middle of the pudding.
Yeah, so you just want it to pretty much sort of float on the top there.
Float on the top. Now, this is going to look hideous at the moment, but once it goes into the oven, the magic will happen. The sauce will sink to the bottom, the pudding will rise, and we'll get this beautiful lush sauce on the bottom of the pudding, which is exactly what we want. So into the oven for about 40 minutes, and we'll see it when it comes out.
I'm excited.
So our pudding is hot from the oven. Oh, we've let it sit for about 5 minutes, which is what you want to do. It's going to settle nicely. And then we're going to dust it with some cinnamon while it's still hot.
Great.
Just adds that extra spice.
I just love these little sides here. And that was super liquidy. And now it's completely transformed and turned into caramel.
It's beautiful and lush. We're going to serve it onto some plates. I think the contrast of the cold and the hot with this kind of pudding is delicious. So we've got some beautiful vegan ice cream. Should we scoop into it?
Go for it. Look at me, I'm like waiting.
So good. So we've got our beautiful cake there with our sauce.
Yes. Hot, hot, hot.
Hot, hot, hot.
Oh, see that caramel? You can never have enough caramel in a self-saucing pudding.
Look at that beautiful caramel.
And this is particularly good because you've got it's set quite nicely on top, so it's quite firm, so it's slightly crunchy. Then you got this fluffy cake in the centre and lots of goo.
Lots of goo, that's what we want. And then we're going to pop some ice cream on top.
So coconut ice cream, why not? I love it. In fact, I probably should have put that on top, right? It needs to go there, and then all of a sudden it just starts to melt into that hot, hot pud.
Beautiful. Oh. Looks good. Should we try?
Let's try. You go first.
If you're feeling fancy as well, you can add another little bit of cinnamon on top if you're serving it for like a dinner party, but perfect. For a vegan pudding.
You would never know this is a vegan pudding.
So good.
It's just the different mouthfuls, you get different textures of the pudding that makes it so amazing. And the sensation, hot pudding, hot caramel, freezing cold ice cream. High five.
Good.
Give me a high five. It's really good. Enjoy, guys. Make this one. You'll love it.